Good afternoon, everybody. Hello and welcome. This is What's Happening, and this is a video where we're going to be telling you everything that's going on with your church. Today, I am joined by Pastor Corey. Let's give it up for Pastor Corey, everybody.
How are we doing? What's happening online? Let's go.
I'm so glad he's joining us. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
On. Absolutely.
So just before we get started, before we dive into what's actually happening at Water's Edge Church, let's introduce you a little bit, because some people might not know you. You know, there's some people that just attend online that watch this, and they might not know that you are the campus pastor at Newport News.
Let's go.
But the one thing that you might not know about Corey, too, is not only are you an exceptionally passionate Dallas Cowboys fan.
Let's go. It's our year.
You are.
It's a joke. It's not our year.
You actually are an incredibly talented artist. And I don't think many people know this about you. And I was just wondering, what is the biggest inspiration? What draws you to want to draw?
I would definitely have to say Monet. No, I'm joking. I'll be honest with you. I'm that's kind of you. My wife thinks I'm an incredible artist. Andrew, so when I was in elementary school, I was good at drawing. And my parents made me go to maybe audition for an art school. And I got in. It was terrible. The only thing I liked about it, I did get a sleep in for the first couple years, but it was terrible. I was really good at drawing, but there was a point where I was one of only two boys in the entire school who played sports. So that was difficult. I also had to do dance classes and I had to do drama class and singing class. It was terrible. But I was good at drawing, and I've had some good moments in drawing, but I hate painting. So I would not call myself an artist, but I appreciate it that I can draw. And no, I will probably not draw for you.
Do you feel like any emotions in particular come out when you're drawing or creating artwork? Yeah,
frustration from drawing, for sure. Though I don't mind the act of actually like getting in there and drawing when I'm like really bored. But that lasts for about 3 seconds.
All right.
Literally 3. But
well, that's an interesting tidbit, and I think more people should know this about you.
I got sides, you know.
Yeah, it adds many layers to who you are. You're not just a pastor. You're not just a Dallas Cowboys fan or an awesome husband. You are also an awesome artist. So
awesome. Okay, I appreciate that.
A talented artist.
Thank you.
That's enough for bragging about Pastor Corey here. Let's go ahead and we'll turn to some of the announcements we have this week. So what's happening? All right, so first and foremost, we have Growth Track coming up. And Growth Track is at the end of every single month.
Let's go.
And we do our in-person Growth Track, but that doesn't mean you can't not attend if you're not in person. You know, we also have that online option available. And for that, you just go to our website. Go to watersedgechurch.net. You hit Next Steps, and then you're going to see Growth Track right there. Or you can just follow that link that's down there below. And I really, Pastor Corey, you have the opportunity to sometimes host Growth Track. And I was wondering, what do you think that people get out of most when they go through the Growth Track?
Yeah, so I mean, I have the the privilege of being overseeing Growth Track in person, and it's been a really cool opportunity. What I see in person, I would say, I think most people go and they expect to grow and learn a lot about our church, and I think that's true. Like, I think it's great to learn about how you can know Jesus. Obviously, that's huge. We see people give their lives to Jesus, which is awesome in Growth Track. We saw a bunch of that online.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
Also, like, how you can, discover your purpose and start serving, how you can actually connect with others, and how you can make a difference in the world. I think all that's huge. But I think the main thing that I see for sure is people walk in looking for something to, like, gain knowledge, and they usually leave knowing somebody deeper, like developing a real relationship with a staff member or with maybe a couple other newer attendees at the church. But I mean, it's a really cool experience. We've had like 30, 40 people at the last couple.
Yeah.
And we feed you like good food, like Cracker Barrel, Moe's. I mean, we made it happen. So
it's been good eating.
You should definitely come on out.
So if you're looking to make your new best friend, go ahead and sign up for Growth Track.
That's good.
At the end of the month, we'll see you there in person. If you can't make it, like I said, we have that online available option for you. But so the next announcement we got for you is please, if you haven't heard about it yet, join our online Facebook community. That online Facebook community is something we dive into every single week. We post in daily devotionals in there. We're posting Music Mondays, Trivia Tuesdays, Testimony Thursdays. We got so many fun things going on throughout the week where we just like to take a look back at the sermon that we heard on Sunday, but also we like to just stay connected with each other throughout the week and encourage each other on our spiritual journey. So if you haven't already, go ahead, get out your phone right now and text Facebook to 36769, and you'll be filled up with all the fun things there. And I don't think there's a boring moment throughout the week. You're gonna have so much fun. I can't wait to see you there. And then the next announcement we got is Changed. We had our Changed wall. So many people have said yes to Jesus here at Waters Edge Church, and we celebrate every single one of those moments by lighting up a bulb on our Changed sign. And so each one of those bulbs that you see down there, you see how the G is somewhat filled in right there. That's just showing how there is continual growth. And we're not going to stop until that every single bulb is filled up, and then we're going to just keep going. So look forward to that. And if you guys, if you feel called to attend church and say yes to Jesus, please let us know. We would love to celebrate with you. Jesus and God and all of heaven are celebrating you, and we want to celebrate you here on this earth as well. So thank you. I know Pastor Corey's had some awesome experiences with the Changed wall.
Dude, change is what it's about, bro.
Yeah,
Change is fun. It's so cool to watch it fill all the way up. I think oftentimes it's easy for us to think that the church is about us. I think that's a natural tendency, is like, hey, I'm going to make church comfortable. I'm going to make church mine. I'm going to get to know my people. I'm going to find my row, or I'm going to find my coffee shop to watch, or wherever it is. But I think we all oftentimes we look at church as like, how can it meet my preferences and my wants? And I think change is just an awesome reminder. It's like, oh, this is actually what we're doing. When you see people's lives actually changed. And I know at our church we had some people who gave their hearts to Jesus, did change bulbs, right? Mm-hmm. Then their kids gave their lives to Jesus and got changed bulb. I think if there's a guy at our church named Neil at Newport News who got saved right when he got here, like a year and a half ago. Gave his heart to Jesus in a December thing, got baptized. It's a really cool story, and someday I'm excited for everyone to actually hear the story. Comes from a really broken past, and yet this past Sunday I got to both of his sons and one of his son's girlfriends. They had gotten saved, and specifically his son and his son's girlfriend got saved this past Sunday, and they all did change bulbs together, and they're going to get baptized. So really, really cool to watch people take those steps, and it reminds you, hey, this is why we do what we do. It's why we're here on earth. So it's really cool. No, change is what it's about, bro.
I know you've got all the stories about change, and I'm glad you brought up baptism, because we also have a super fun event coming up. That's baptism at the beach, y'all. We got baptism at the beach happening on July 23rd at 2:30, I believe. And Pastor Ben is putting so much time and effort into this and making it incredible. I mean, all of our staff members are going to pour their time and effort into it. But I know Pastor Ben really has a passion for making this an incredible experience. So you were just at the spot.
Let's go.
So tell me, what do you think is going to be better about it this year now that we're at a new spot? It's still on Yorktown Beach, but it's going to be a little farther down, right?
Dude, it's dedicated, bro. Like, it's ready to go. Like, I mean, we prayed over it. We anointed it with oil.
Nice.
That's not true. But it's a really cool spot, man. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. I think, like, you're going to see it backs up to a really beautiful scenery, and I think there's that private piece of it to where, like, you can really spend time and see exactly who you're getting baptized. You don't have to go, like, 5 miles out into the ocean with scuba gear. Like, you could just take a couple steps out, and you're right there. And not to mention, it's pretty cool because online specifically, maybe I'm ruining something, but you get actually a really cool view. There's like a little spot that we're actually going to be able to set up where you can get a very clear, obvious view. So if you're joining baptism at the beach online, I mean, that's where you need to join it, because you can literally see exactly what's going on. You'll be able to see the facial expressions and everything. And
you're not going to want to miss it, y'all.
It's so moving, dude. Baptism is, I say, it's a Super Bowl for the past. It's Super Bowl for the pastor. It's like, maybe not Super Bowl isn't the right term. Maybe it's payday. Maybe that's a better term. Like, it's just like, oh man, this is
favorite day.
This is the fruition. This is all that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. You get to see your hard work come to fruition.
Yeah, these are people saying, yeah, I'm a part of it. So, dude, no,
I can see. I can see how that, as a pastor, the people you've invested so much time in, finally making that next step, that's so uplifting, and it really is, I think, what keeps you going, right? It gives you that fire to keep going and see more people get baptized and see more people give their life to Jesus. So
it's awesome.
I always think, like, there's going to be one person who sees what we're doing at baptism at the beach, that's just there because they're at the beach. Yeah. And they're like, man, you know what? I'm going to go check that out. I want to see what they're all about. So I'm excited. There's one more announcement that I wanted to talk about with you.
Yeah.
And that's the Summer Leadership Intensive. So I know that you and Dixon and TJ have been really prepping and putting some time and effort into that. I'm sure others as well that I don't know of, but that's who I've heard of in the immediate past. And I know that this is, in talking to Dixon this morning, he was saying that it's a perfect opportunity for those who want to learn about Jesus, and develop their leadership skills, but also really develop themselves spiritually. So I was wondering, in preparation for that, what are your highest hopes, or what do you see happening for our students who take that journey?
Yeah, so the Student Leadership Intensive is, I don't even know where to look, but I'm looking right at you. Student Leadership Intensive, it's for high school students, and the thought is basically we have a lot of students, if you don't know, they come to camp, and they are on fire for God, they're on fire for Jesus, and sometimes it can be easy to kind of leave camp, and like that camp high kind of comes down, and you come home and you're just kind of chilling, and you're off school, you don't really know what to do with your time. And so we figured we have all these students who have some availability right in their time. Why not give them a sort of like, hey, you experienced a spiritual development at camp, let's give you kind of that next step, kind of like mini camps on Thursdays during July. So it's a really cool time. It starts tomorrow, but it's awesome. It's literally like mini camp in the sense. Like, I mean, you got worship, you got prayer, you got small groups, you got a bunch of fun, you got lunch, and then you got some sessions that are exciting. And one of them's actually, I think there's 3 sessions. If I'm blowing this, I'm sorry, Dixon. But I think we start out with I think it's like spiritual disciplines, how to develop those, and then we get to talk about specifically biblical knowledge, and then lastly we get to talk about kind of like some leadership development. And so it's a pretty cool thing. And I know we're diving into some pretty deep stuff. Like, I know Pastor Ben's preaching tomorrow at it, and I know he's going to be talking about, he's going to try to give all those students the biblical knowledge on the 4 Gospels, which is a whole lot, quick. It's going to be a fire hose. Yeah. I know I'm doing Isaiah the last week, which is very difficult, but very fun. And so, I mean, I think students who walk in there are not only going to walk out, growing leadership wise. I think they're going to grow in their faith. I think they're going to know people. I think they're going to feel closer to God's church, and specifically maybe know more about how God has designed them and called them to function within the church. So I think it's going to be a pretty cool opportunity, regardless, for whoever chooses to join.
Definitely.
So,
no, thank you so much.
I'm locked in on it. I think it's going to be awesome.
I think so too. And no, thank you so much for that explanation of it, because honestly, I was a little bit in not knowing exactly what's going on, but now I'm like, man, who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Oh yeah, it's free.
You had an opportunity to read the Bible with a pastor, or develop your spiritual knowledge or leadership skills with a pastor. There's really no one better to learn from. So I think anybody should take them up on this offer. It's free. Like they said, it starts right now, tomorrow. But
9 a.m.
There's still time to sign up. And if you really want to sign up, please text or talk to Dixon. Dixon will be the guy to.
I think it's on the website too.
Yeah. You go to Waters Edge Church/students, and you'll see it right there too to sign up. But that goes ahead and does it for the announcement portion. I want to take a quick moment to say hi to Pamela. I can see you watching.
Go.
Hey, Pamela.
Pam. No, Pamela. I'm sorry.
No,
so good to see you, Pamela.
I made that mistake actually when she started volunteering.
Yep.
I called her Pam for maybe 2 weeks, and she stopped me, and she's the kindest lady ever. She goes, Andrew, my name is Pamela. And I was like, I will not mess this up again.
Yeah. And Pamela doesn't mess around. Her car's fired too.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. She's awesome. I just wanted to say hi to you and thank you for watching and commenting along. And just to everybody else out there, make sure you comment in the chat. Let us know how you're doing. We want to talk to you. If you're excited about a specific event, let us know. I want to hear from you and really engage with you all here. And this is supposed to be a conversation between us both. It's not just us telling you what's going on. We want you to engage with us too, because you're part of the church just as much as we are. So it's good to see you. And now we're going to take a little moment to roll that sermon clip. So we're going to look back at what Pastor Ben had to say on Sunday. Remember, this is not a replacement for the sermon. This is just a couple of clips that we're going to get to talk about. But if you haven't watched that sermon, please go ahead and go back and watch that sermon first, and then come on back here, and we'll see you there. All right, so let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Come on.
So why did I arrive? That would be the first one we would say today. Why did I arrive? Job chapter 3. Imagine, Job 3:1. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. He said, may the day of my birth perish, and the night that said, a boy is conceived. So basically, Job just opened his mouth and said, I basically don't want to be here. I'm done. I have no reason, no purpose. I basically want to be done with everything. It goes on in Job chapter 3, verse 4. It says this, that day, may it turn into darkness. May God above not care about it. May no light shine on it. May the day perish on which I was born. Basically, Job had no meaning or purpose because of what had been done to him in his life. Everything was just basically taken away. I'm not saying you today, like, this is what you got to go through in order to experience these emotions. But when we talk about sadness, I'm sure Job experienced some very, very deep sadness. And of course, even deeper than that is depression.
So yeah, that was a very impactful and I think extremely relatable sermon for most of you. I know the people online, when I was watching everyone commenting along, people really found that it was incredibly relatable, which just signals to me that sometimes there might be people that are sad out there that you don't know, and they're not showing it, but they are feeling it. And so I think it's important for us to be representations of Christ in all that we do. Remember, you never know who's going to need that uplifting moment or a really uplifting time in their lives. But the one thing that I saw that I really liked what Pastor Ben said was that there's so many examples of people that experience sadness or being afraid in the Bible. I think there was over 200 people that were afraid in the Bible. And so I was like, man, it's good to know that the Lord has put in the Bible ways that we can handle those stressful situations and show us examples on how to respond. So I was wondering to ask you a question. It's as a pastor, you know, I'm sure you still have sadness creep into your lives from time to time. I mean, the Cowboys lose, you know, you get sad, but also on a serious
depression,
note,
but
you know, on a serious note though, you get sad about real life things from time to time. And I was wondering, what is your number one thing that you look to do when you experience sadness in your own life?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. Yeah, I think sadness is such I think it's prevalent, first off. And I think it's often linked to a lot of the emotions. We're going to hit a lot of them that you've heard of before: anger, fear, happiness even. Sadness is pretty well linked. But I think what's important to think about with sadness is that it doesn't just, like, sadness will grow as big as you allow it. It's kind of something I learned in my own life. I went through some pretty dark seasons of depression in my own life in high school and early college. And and it was a result of some really hard things in life. But I remember, you know, like Pastor Stu had that great point. And I actually got to help him work on it a little bit, which was this idea of regulating your sadness, right? Like managing it. And I think that's the number one thing I've had to do is like, okay, like when has it gone from being a godly sadness, like a sadness that's the result of something? It's an emotion, it's a feeling. And when have I allowed it to become a choice? When have I made the decision, right, to be gloomy, to fall into self-pity, right, to fall into kind of those things? And so what I have to do is I have to like constantly evaluate my sadness, like constantly regulate it. Like, hey, is this like an emotion? Is this what I should be feeling? Or is this just because I like when people are, you know, feeling bad for me, or I like when I feel bad for myself so I don't have to care about stuff or do chores around the house or whatever. And I feel like it's so much easier for me to just stay in my sadness. And so I begin to choose it. And that's when it can kind of go into those dark places where I don't know how to get out. And it's because I've made it kind of my norm. I've made it kind of where I'm at. And so that's what I got to do. And I think there's plenty of ways not only to manage it, which is just, you know, like asking yourself the question, like, hey, why am I sad right now? Like, is this my choice, or is this a feeling that's a result of something outside of my control? And then obviously the next steps are how do you begin to deal with the sadness, especially when you choose it. So
yeah, no, I think that you hit the nail on the head there. It's reflect back on an understanding. I think a lot of people get caught up in the victim mentality thing, and I know for me, like I just was in a car accident, and it felt weirdly good to have so many people reach out and say like, hey, are you okay? You know, it felt like, I know that wasn't a great situation to be in, but to know that everyone was caring for me in that moment it made me feel a little bit better about the situation. But I think what you just said was I should not have gotten attached to that. You know, I shouldn't like make myself the victim in certain situations or prolong that any longer than it needed to be. Because I don't need to be dwelling in sadness. I don't need to be dwelling in pain. And there's joy and hope for the future. But the one thing I was going to ask is more on like what's the practical steps that you take? Is it reading the Bible? Do you pray first? Is it worship songs? I know
Yeah.
it's different for a lot of people, but
Yeah,
for
that's
you,
a great question. Yeah, I think you gotta mix it up in a couple different ways. Because you want to make sure that you're not just creating a false reality, right? Like if you're genuinely sad because there's something really sad going on. Let's say you lose a loved one, right? That's terrible. That's sad. What you don't need to do is go home and listen to Taylor Swift on the way home so that you're happy, right? That doesn't do you any good. That's
No.
that's just creating this false reality. And it's actually not really dealing with your sadness. You're not actually dealing with your emotion. I think what you got to do is, I think too, by the way, if you are creating that emotion, that feeling of self-pity, right? God lists that as a sin among murder and greed and hate, and self-pity is right in the middle of it. But not just as self-pity important, but if you are in a real sense of sadness, I think you've got to find ways to encourage yourself in the Lord, right? That's what I can't remember which psalm, but there's a psalm, right, that says David encouraged himself in the Lord. And what's cool about that is like he was going through a genuine season of sadness, right? I think it might be Psalm 134, but it's like his son, I don't know if you know the story, but his son was jacked up and tried to kill him and killed a bunch of brothers, and it was just really bad. Absalom was not a good dude. Don't name your kid Absalom. Don't name him. Bad choice. But Absalom did that, and David is obviously really sad about it. Like, I mean, he has no other choice but to be sad. He's grieving, right? But he has to find ways to encourage himself in the Lord and remind himself of the goodness of God, even in the midst of what's going on. And so I find that when we do that, when we encourage ourselves in, right, the goodness of God, or the justice of God, or the loving nature of God, or the kindness of God, or all the faithfulness of God, all these awesome attributes, when we remind ourselves of that, it allows us to realize that, hey, there's a duality here. Here's how I feel, but it doesn't mean that is what's true. What's true is that I'm loved by a God who is faithful and kind and just and merciful. And while it's true that this is what I feel, it is not overwhelming objective truth in my life, and it doesn't have to define me or how I carry myself. And I think it's when you get that eternal perspective, right? The perspective of here's what God thinks of me, here's what Jesus thinks about me. It allows me to regulate my sadness and manage it, because when I begin to start viewing God negatively, or I begin to start viewing church or the Bible or prayer negatively, it's because I've now allowed sadness to become bigger. Or maybe it needs even to be treated, right? It could be depression, but it's something deeper than that, and it's now overwhelming all the objective truth in your life, which is that God loves you and He's with you and all that sort of stuff. And so
keep that perspective.
Yeah,
right?
that eternal perspective. And so you're saying all the right things. Prayer, spending real time with God, telling Him how you feel. Spending real time, right? Encouraging yourself, right? Through scriptures, right? Through reminding yourselves of attributes that you know of God. And then I think worship, and then church, like being around people. That's the church isn't just a place where we go because we feel good.
Yeah.
Church is a place where we could be surrounded by people who love us and can point us to God. And so when we're kind of surrounded by that, I think it allows us to experience, right, sadness, but keeping it in its right place, right, which is still under the goodness and the love of God.
No, definitely. And I think what you said right there, it's surrounding yourself with the people that you know are going to keep you uplifted. It is so hard to be sad around Pastor Corey. He's so happy and so joyful and so excited to just serve God and love others that, you know, it's just a constant reminder of why we do things. It's for others, not for us. And so thank you, Pastor Corey, for being here today.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
I had a ton of fun with you. Thank you for being here. And thanks for always being that source of joy. You know, I know that Jesus is our ultimate source of joy, but when I see you, I see a reflection of Him in you. So thank you for keeping us all on the up and up and smiling. and even when we're sad, we know we have eternity to look forward to. So
yeah, come on.
Thank you so much.
What's it about?
I just want to say thank you all for joining us today and being here for what's happening. I hope you've had fun. I saw you, Jim. Thanks for watching along, and thanks for Pamela for commenting along with us. So thank you, and I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.